Hello ladies, my name is Kristen Speller and I'm in my car because we have so many people, so many survivors and victims on the streets of Los Angeles who need our services. And what does that mean? That means surviving with what is in your toolbox. I can tell you that for me, in my experience, I lived in hiding for 4 years as I escaped my ex-husband. And when you think about tools, you don't always have the tools. And I had to think about the kind of tools that I had, the type of leverage that I had to survive. And when I think about that, I think of being hydrated. Hydration is so important when you're trying to survive. I cannot tell you what kind of source water is, and this is not something that I would have initially thought of, but it was something that I was doing. I didn't know how impactful it would be, but I remember my physician telling me, are you eating the right things? No, I wasn't. Are you, sleeping at night? Are you, getting your self-care in? I didn't really practice any of those because, to be honest, I was trying to just get to my escape home, to survive, to keep my job in corporate America. And truly nothing like that was really in my purview, but yet I knew that I needed to do it. So the 2 tips that I would say while you're just trying to go and be your best self and trying to survive would be to drink water and to eat nutritionally. Those are 2 things that I was trying to do. I was trying to survive, and I was trying to think of, man, I need something in my kit that's gonna enable me to try and live. And it was so laborious. I cannot tell you how many sleepless nights I had, how many reckless nights I had, texting my ex-husband, going back and forth, and how the stress got to me. I didn't know how to do it. I didn't know what tools I had. I didn't even know if I was really going to live and survive the next day, to be honest with you. But I will tell you that the initial tools that I had were water and was food. My sustenance source weren't the best sources, but I found myself eating more salads. I found myself adding more greens. I found myself adding more organic juices. And for me, when you're trying to neurologically survive, because truly that's what it is, you're trying to figure it out. And I didn't have it figured out. And you know what? No survivor has it figured out. None of the victims on these streets of Los Angeles have it figured out. They don't even know where they're going to go. They don't know how they're going to do it, where they're going to live, if their perpetrator is following them. They don't know any of that. So it's my job to bring to the victims and to the survivors on these streets certain tools. We bring them water because hydration is key. You need water to keep your skin supple. You need water to keep your brain function. You need water to dispose of your gut intake. Try to dig down deep because I was trying to survive. I was living in hiding. I was working as a corporate hospital department administrator. I had a huge job that was so stressful and so taxing, and I was dealing still with my ex-husband, and my tools honestly were coming as I was just going. It was just like coming and going, and the tools that I had, I didn't even know that I had, and the ones that I didn't have, I had to establish. And so I always talk about nutrition because you can't fuel your body on an empty stomach or in an empty space. And this bar by Jewel Goddess, it's called the Jewel Bar. This is a nutritionally dense bar that is going to give you the nutrition to survive. And I always mention bars because, number one, if you're trying to escape, you can't escape with food. You can't escape with a plate of takeout. You have to have things on the run. If you're living on the streets, you need someone to supply you with food that can last you all day, sustenance that can last you all day. Right now, we are in a time where we have so many options to choose from. And also, Our survivors on the streets also have options because we give out all of these products that are nutritionally beneficial for survivors. And when you think of neurological health and all of the things that we have to deal with, especially after being physically abused, because although the bruises go away, they do. But you have to go for x-rays, you have to go to doctor's appointments, you have to figure out if there's any internal damage. And when you're trying to do that, you are so emotionally taxed that you don't know if you're coming and going. And when I thought about talking about Survivor's Toolbox, it's not necessarily about the restraining order tools or the things that you have to do for court, because we all know that those are things that eventually are going to have to be done. But I'm talking about the everyday tools that you have to survive. And the top two things, water and nutrition, are on the highest priority of my list. I think it's also vitally important to say that if you don't have finances to eat 3 times a day, bars like this will sustain you for long periods of time. The other thing that I want to mention that we do is bulletproof coffee. Bulletproof coffee or bulletproof hot chocolate have enough of the nutritional ingredients that can really help you. We use a lot of bulletproof packets to help with brain function and brain activity. So if I don't want to eat a breakfast or I don't have time, this will last me at least for 6 hours. And those are the things that I wish I had known back then, because number one, I wasn't eating well at the time, and I felt as though, oh my gosh, I have to eat 3 meals a day. But those meals weren't packed with great food. It was bread, it was carbs, it was French fries, it was In-N-Out, it was Carl's Jr. All of those things are not going to get me to where I need to be. I understand, however, that if that's what you can do, that's what you can do. But I wanted to share a little bit beyond that, because we're in a different time and place now. I escaped in 2008, and the amount of bars and food and good ingredients has changed explicitly in the past 12 years. And so we have access to more food. We have access to better quality food. And so that's what we're able to deliver right here on the streets of Los Angeles. And so when you think about your toolbox, what are the tools that you have? Do you have anything in your home? Apples, fruits, oranges, vitamin C. Also, a nutritional source of vitamin K is kale. Can you make kale chips? Can you travel with those things? Those are the things that are really going to help you to move. And so the other things that I want to talk about in your toolbox is, who are you surrounding yourself with? Are you with people who are saying, why are you leaving him? You should just stay. Don't you know you're his wife? Those are the things and the people that need to be out of your life. Because I'm going to tell you this, the more you have people saying these things to you, the more that you're going to get transferred into your spirit. It's going to become a repeatable routine of hearing all of these negative things. You can't leave him. You need to stay married. You can't leave him. That you have children. You can't leave him. You have pets. You can't leave him. You need to submit to him. All of these things need to exit your survivor's situation, because you cannot have those type of people in your life with the type of tools that you're trying to manifest. And there are going to be people that say, hey, you can't do this. And you need to be like, no, I can. And I will tell you a personal story. My church, my ex-church, I should say, did not believe me. There was a whole thing. My ex said that I was doing this, that, and the other. And I couldn't believe that a faith-based organization was sitting there thinking that I would lie over something so egregious. I mean, it was so preposterous that you really, once you sit back and take a look, you're like, wow, these people who call themselves men and women of the cloth did not believe me. And I also was told that if I got a divorce, I would go to hell, which is so ludicrous. And it wasn't even that I had these people around me, because they were in Massachusetts and I was in California, but they still were in my sphere. They still were in the vortex of what I was hearing. And it is so preposterous and it's so perplexing that you would have people in these positions saying this. And I have to tell you, it was so hurtful, but I knew if I was going to escape, because this was right before I escaped, I knew if I was going to escape that I could not listen to what they were saying, because number one, they had no idea what I was dealing with as a survivor. Number two, they had no idea that he was lying. And they just believed him. They just believed him. And I kept saying, why are they believing this man over a woman? Is it because of being submissive? Is it because of, what they feel the Bible should be in terms of you being a wife? And I got bullied on social media. I, was friends with some of the pastor's children, and it became really, it became a shit show, to be quite honest with you. And, my mother, my beautiful late mother, who was the biggest advocate of domestic violence, she's like, I'm going to go down to that church. Do you want to go with me? I need to talk to them. And at some point, and my mother was a therapist, by the way, and at some point, it's just not worth it because people aren't going to listen. I did reconcile with some of them a few years ago, because the same pastor did my grandmother's funeral, which unbeknownst to me, I did not know until I walked in. And so there were certain things that he didn't know, because I guess some of the phone calls that had transpired between my ex and the church weren't communicated well. So there was a whole other situation with that. To me, I did not care, because for me, I only know what I heard in 2008. And that's really all that I cared about, to be quite honest with you. And I thought about the people that I was surrounding myself with. And I wasn't really hanging around with anybody, to be quite honest, because I was getting ready to escape. I didn't really have a lot of friends, and I kept to myself. And I became my own best friend. I became my own survivor's toolbox. So when people ask me, Kristen, what tools did you have? I had myself. I had my wit, I had my gut, and I had my vision. And I can tell you, those three things, to me, are the most important things that you can have as a survivor. Survivorship is no joke. It is not easy. It is not fun. It does not look great. It is not sunshines and rainbows. It is hurtful. It is painful. It is so tedious and taxing. But I will tell you, I will take the tedious and taxing any day over staying with someone who abuses me. No one, not one, deserves to be abused. There's a saying, when I went to therapy for 3 years. And there's a saying that we all say, everything happens for a reason. Where I sought therapy was a domestic violence organization and shelter. And what we say is, everything happens for a reason except abuse. And so I will say to you today, if you are abused, if you are feeling trapped, if you are feeling hunted, trust me, go with your gut. Stay with your vision. When you're looking at tools, what do you define as your hammer? What do you define as your plier? What do you define as your screwdriver? What do you define as your nails? Those are the things that you need to define for yourself. For me, my nails was water. Those were my nails, because I knew that if I could nail it in, if I could keep remembering, if I could keep doing, that would help my brain function. My pliers became my sustenance, because I could tweak it. I could wheel it. I could figure it out, right? My hammer became my vision. I kept hammering, Kristen, you can do it. Kristen, you're enough. Kristen, you're worthy. Kristen, you don't need him for the situation that he put you in. You have to keep hammering that sense of worth into yourself, into your scope, and into your vortex, because with your vibration, you always want to stay on the higher trajectory of your vibration. You never want to let your vibration lower, because when you're dealing with all of those things, and I will tell you, my screwdriver of life has been to go with what you know. And what do you know? You know that you're capable. You know that you're worthy. You know that you are worth it to fight for your own life. And when you start to put all of those things together, the screwdriver, the nails, the hammer, the plier, you're going to have a toolkit that is so powerful that no one is going to be able to come between you and the law of attraction. Nobody is going to be able to come between you and the manifestation of your dreams that you are only worthy of. And you have to remember that. You have to remember that it's up to you to manifest, to create your vision, and to really expand upon that vision, and to put that vision into work. Okay, you have to put the vision into work. And what I mean by that is, if you say, okay, I'm going to go get an apartment for $1,500. I need A, B, and C to do that. Keep that vision, because that vision is going to become so powerful that it's going to manifest. It's going to become so prevalent to the universe, and you are going to get what you have always desired. And that is the key. My goal was to manifest my album. I said, I need to create a platform where people are going to believe me, where people are not going to hunt me, and where people are going to hear me. And that's exactly what I did. I created an album about domestic violence, about my freedom, called Misguided Dignity. And I titled it that because it wasn't that my dignity was misguided, it's that everybody saw, or what they thought was, my dignity being misguided. And that's why I named it that. I played on words because I was very misguided. I was misguided in thinking who was going to believe me. I was misguided about telling my church. I was misguided about fighting with them about all of it. But the one thing that remained always was my dignity. You can never, ever, ever take my dignity away, and no one can ever take your dignity away. You are a survivor. You have the tools, and you have the box to put it in. I want you to remember these three things. You are so loved. You are so validated. And you are the phoenix rising up. I'm performing Phoenix Rising Up for all of you today, because we will rise together. There is nothing as survivors that we can't do. There is nothing that we cannot manifest. I'm a business owner of an organic cosmetics company, Double Down Cosmetics. I'm the co-founder of our nonprofit From Here to There. I also own Speller Productions, my music label. Those three things are things that no one can ever take away from me. Those are the things that I had vision for so long ago, and I have manifested those things into my life. I know it's hard, I know it's taxing, and I know it's tedious, but you have the tenacity to make it happen. Never, ever forget that the tools that you have are going to be the most important tools for you to survive. My name is Kristen Speller. I am a proud 13-year survivor of domestic violence, and today I am honoring all of you here at the She Is Me conference. I love you, you are worthy, and you have the tools.